Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're talking about something I think we can all relate to from our school days, those little teaching tricks and shortcuts. But we're going to go deeper and ask, how do we move beyond that to unlock what students are really capable of? Let's get into it.
This quote right here really just gets to the absolute heart of the matter. When students don't have that deep conceptual understanding, they're not really learning a procedure. They're just fluent with a trick. It's the difference between knowing how to do something and truly understanding why you're doing it. One is temporary, but the other, that's a tool you can use for life.
So what are we even talking about with these tricks? We've all seen them, right? Those clever little shortcuts for solving a math problem or remembering a grammar rule. They seem great in the moment, but what happens when the problem looks just a little bit different? Well, that's when the trick falls apart.
But here's the thing, and this is really important. The problem isn't the trick itself. The problem is what it replaces. When we teach a shortcut instead of the real concept underneath, we're basically building a house on sand. That learning is fragile, it's isolated, and it's totally disconnected from the bigger picture.
Okay, so if leaning on tricks is the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's a framework called Research-Based Instructional Strategies, or you'll hear it called RBIS. And this is how we start building that stronger foundation of real knowledge.
What's so powerful about RBIs is that this isn't just someone's good idea or, the latest teaching fad. These are practices that are actually grounded in the science of how our brains learn. They're meant to be universal, things that should be happening in classrooms no matter what textbook or curriculum is being used.
And making this distinction is absolutely key. RBIs are about how we teach, and that's based on learning science. It often means we have to make a real shift in how we approach instruction. This is not about stuff like classroom management or just agreeing that, we should align to standards. It goes way deeper. It gets to the very core of teaching itself. So let's make this a little more concrete. How does this actually play out in a subject like math? Well, what if we stopped thinking about math as just a bunch of problems to solve and started seeing it as a continuous, connected story? RBIS gives us the framework to help students actually read and understand that story. And that story, it's built on these 5 essential practices. It's this really powerful framework that balances the why with the how, makes sure we go deep on the big ideas, connects everything together, and even embraces something called productive struggle, and it's all guided by really smart assessment. Let's zoom in on one of those, because it might sound a little counterintuitive. Productive struggle? What in the world does that mean? Well, it's not about making math frustrating. It's about designing challenges that really stretch a student's thinking and build true resilience for solving problems.
So here's what it looks like in a real classroom. You give students a tough problem, one they can tackle in a few different ways. And then, and this is the hard part for the teacher, you have to resist that urge to jump in and rescue them too fast. You give them time to think, to talk to each other, and maybe most importantly, to learn from their mistakes.
And when all these practices, like productive struggle, start working together, students begin to see it. They realize that math isn't just a random collection of rules to memorize. It's a coherent narrative where every single idea builds on the last one. It all makes sense.
Okay, so that's the math story. But what about on the other side of things? What about literacy? Well, the same core ideas apply in what's called the Reading Language Arts, or RLA, framework. It's also built on a powerful set of research-backed strategies.
The 4 strategies you see here really work together as a system. Of course, it starts with the basics, foundational skills, but then it gets really interesting. It insists that students work with complex, grade-level texts, that they build a coherent web of knowledge, and that they always back up their ideas with evidence from what they read. So let's do another deep dive, this time on text complexity. This idea challenges a really common practice, the idea that we should give struggling readers simpler books. The research, well, it actually points in the exact opposite direction. This is so critical. The research is clear. All students learn more when they have access to grade-level, complex texts. The way we help them isn't by giving them an easier book. It's by giving them better support and scaffolding around the book they're supposed to be reading. Access to complex text is really an equity issue. Now, this statement, this is a game changer. Reading proficiency gaps are often knowledge gaps. It completely reframes how we think about reading. It suggests that if a student is having trouble understanding a text, the problem might not be their reading skill. It might be that they just don't have enough background knowledge about the topic. And that is where everything we've been talking about connects. Whether we're talking about coherence in a math story or building background knowledge to understand a text, the ultimate goal is exactly the same: The one theme that ties all of this together is the intentional, systematic building of deep, connected, and lasting knowledge.
So where does this all leave us? Well, it points to a pretty fundamental shift, doesn't it? It's a move away from just teaching isolated skills and clever tricks, and a move towards an approach that actually cultivates real expertise and deep understanding.
Every single strategy we've looked at today, in both math and reading, serves this one powerful goal. It's all about prioritizing deep, connected understanding over those shallow, superficial skills. It's about creating learners who don't just know things, but who truly understand them.
And that leaves us with a final question to really think about. When you consider the students, the teachers, the schools in your own community, how could this shift, this move from just teaching tricks to truly building knowledge, how could that transform the future of learning? Thanks for joining this explainer.